The next imperial city is the commercial capital of Fez, where everything is made, or almost everything anyway, and much of it in the old style. I'd like to read a letter here. And this letter is written by Edmondo de Amicus, who was apparently on a diplomatic mission from Italy in the 1880s, and he's describing his experiences in Morocco. His book is called Morocco, Its People and Places, and specifically this little section is about Fez. The first impression is that of an immense city fallen into decrepitude and slowly decaying. Tall houses which seemed formed of houses piled one upon another, all falling to pieces, cracked from roof to base, propped up on every side with no opening save some loophole in the shape of a cross. Uphill and down, encumbered with stones, the ruins of fallen buildings, twisting and turning at every 30 paces. Every now and then a long covered passage dark as a cellar, where you have to feel your way, blind alleys, recesses, dens full of bones, dead animals, and heaps of putrid matter. Dust so thick, and the smell so horrible, the flies so numerous, that you have to stop and take breath. In half an hour, we have made so many turns that if our road could be drawn, it would form an arabesque as intricate as any in the Alhambra. Here and there we hear the noise of a mill, a murmur of water, the click of a weaver's loom, and chanting of nasal voices, which we are told come from a school of children, but we see nothing. We approach the center of the city. People become more numerous. The men stop to let us pass and stare astonished. The women turn back or hide themselves. The children scream and run. The larger boys growl and shake their fists at a distance. We see fountains richly ornamented with mosaics, arabesque doors, arched courts. We come to one of the principal streets about 6 feet wide and full of people who crowd about us. There are 1,000 eyes upon us. We can scarcely breathe in the press and the heat and move slowly on, stopping every moment to give passage to a Moor on horseback or a veiled lady on a camel or an ass loaded with bleeding sheep's heads. To the right and left are crowded bazaars, in courtyards encumbered with merchandise, doors of mosques through which we catch a glimpse of arcades and figures prostrate in prayer. The air is impregnated with an acute and mingled odor of aloes, spices, incense, and kif. We seem to be walking in an immense drug shop. Groups of boys goes by with scarred and scabby heads. Horrible old women, perfectly bald with naked breasts, make their way by dint of furious imprecations against us. Naked or almost naked madmen, crowned with feathers and flowers, bearing a branch in their hands, laughing and singing. We go into the bazaar. The crowd is everywhere. The shops, as in Tangier, are mere dens opened in the wall. We cross, jostled by the crowd, the cloth bazaar, that of slippers, that of earthenware, that of metal ornaments, which altogether form a labyrinth of alleys roofed with canes and branches of trees. This ends the 1880s letter. The Lonely Planet continues. Essentially, the only way in which Fez has changed since then is that the moderate affluence of Fazis now enjoy has enabled them to restore many of the buildings and clean up the streets. However, that hasn't radically changed the heady, strong atmosphere of the Medina. Fez is still worlds apart from anything you will find north of the Strait of Gibraltar. This building is an ancient caravanserai, a place where they used to bring in the caravans and unload them and examine their wares. This place hasn't been refurbished for probably a couple of centuries or so. This next one is a more modernized example of a caravanserai. This particular one also happens to double as a museum for woodworking equipment. All the rooms are where just off of the corridor where the exhibits are. Down there at the bottom you see the scales where they would weigh the merchandise coming off of the camel. This next series is of a pottery factory. This is using local clay, and the potters that are working the local clay are using foot operated pottery wheels. These two little fragments of ceramic are going to be used in a mosaic. That's partly what they make in this factory, is mosaics. The colors being applied change radically when the pot is fired. This next factory is a tannery, which is right in the middle of town. The process here is pretty strictly medieval in terms of its organization and the way that it's handled to a large extent. The ingredients in those vats down there, they include pigeon poo, cow urine, fish oils, animal fats, brains, chromium salts, and sulfuric acids. Safety conditions for the workers are strictly medieval.